Imagine a world where ancient trade routes are reborn as global superhighways, driving business and innovation to new heights. Now, envision one country leading this monumental transformation, with a project so grand it could reshape global commerce. The new Silk Road is as controversial as it is remarkable, sparking fascination and debate. But will the future of international trade be as promising as it seems, or is it a carefully orchestrated power play? Discover how this historic initiative is reimagining connection, creating opportunity, and challenging economies worldwide. The story behind the ancient Silk Road and its importance. The ancient Silk Road stands as one of the most captivating and influential chapters in world history. It wasn't just a single road, but a sprawling network of trade routes that linked the East and West across thousands of miles. Emerging around the 2nd century BC, during the peak of the Han Dynasty, this extraordinary network facilitated the exchange of goods, ideas, and culture, transforming the world in ways unimaginable for the time. Who could have imagined that Chinese silk would make its way to Rome, while Indian spices and Persian carpets traveled in the opposite direction? Beyond the trade of exotic products like silk, porcelain, and spices, the Silk Road also carried the weight of cultural and intellectual exchange. The spread of religions such as Buddhism and Christianity, as well as advancements in science, mathematics, and philosophy, was made possible by this interconnected network. Merchants braving scorching deserts and freezing mountains didn't just exchange goods but also spread knowledge, a true marvel for the era. Another fascinating aspect of the Silk Road was its connection to nature. The landscapes shaping the routes were as challenging as they were breathtaking. Deserts like the Taklamakan and Gobi, and mountain ranges like the Himalayas, tested human endurance. But it was this interaction with the environment that also gave rise to innovative solutions, such as the use of camel caravans as a smart response to desert conditions. This historic network also held an air of mystery. Alongside the trade, stories of adventurers and explorers, such as Marco Polo, added layers of intrigue. These often exaggerated tales of unimaginable riches and dangers turned the Silk Road into not only a trade corridor, but also a legend that ignited imagination. Although its influence waned over time, especially with the rise of maritime routes in the 15th century, the Silk Road left a lasting legacy. It shaped global trade relations, influenced culture, and sparked an incredible curiosity about the world beyond known borders. Even as its practical importance faded, its historical concept remained alive. Today, the ancient Silk Road continues to inspire as symbolizes the potential for global connection, an idea that seemed distant millennia ago. And it is this very idea that sparks the modern renaissance of the concept, the new Silk Road. It's fascinating how a historical idea can drive such groundbreaking decisions today. But how is China using this historical memory to redraw global commerce? This is the focus of the next chapter, where we'll explore how the past meets the present on a truly monumental scale. The rise of the new Silk Road, the Belt and Road Initiative (BRI). The revival of the Silk Road in modern times took shape in 2013 when Chinese President Xi Jinping introduced the ambitious Belt and Road Initiative (BRI), inspired by the legendary network of historical routes. This extraordinary proposal was designed to reconnect the world, but with an even broader scope. Unlike the original route, the BRI extends beyond land pathway. It incorporates maritime, digital, and even aerial routes, completely transforming the landscape of global trade. The vision behind the BRI is both bold and strategic. Imagine a vast belt of infrastructure running across Eurasia, with a high-performance maritime route linking the world's main ports. The project spans over 140 countries, aiming to create an interconnected trade network like never before. If the ancient Silk Road seemed like a dream of its time, the scope of the BRI makes it a modern phenomenon with historical proportion. The concept extends beyond building roads or ports. It involves creating a global connection. China is investing not only in physical infrastructure, but also in digital technologies such as 5G networks and artificial intelligence, enhancing connectivity in innovative ways. This transformation is impacting entire sectors, from transportation to communication, A notable example is the creation of trade corridors cutting through desert, linking remote cities to global metropolises. But why is China so focused on this project? One reason is its attempt to shape a new global economic order, with China playing a central role. Furthermore, the BRI answers a global curiosity: how to revitalize regional economies while strengthening international trade. Essentially, the initiative seeks to turn commerce into a two-way street, offering advantages both to Beijing and its partner. The numbers involved are staggering, even to the most skeptical. Trillions of dollars are expected to be invested over the coming decades, funding projects in countries like Pakistan, Kenya, and Greece. These investments range from high-speed railways to free trade zones, promising a historical impact. The vision is to create a world where business flows without significant physical or political barriers, an intriguing and simultaneously challenging concept. The new Silk Road represents not just a commercial revolution, but also a cultural phenomenon. By connecting different parts of the world, the BRI is fostering the exchange of ideas, knowledge, and culture. It's remarkable how an infrastructure project can have such a profound influence on how nations interact. It's like watching history being written before our eyes. Just as the ancient route connected the East and the West, the new Silk Road is building a bridge to the future. But how does China plan to turn this project into a pillar of its global strategy? That's what we'll explore in the next section, where we'll delve into the strategic goals of this visionary initiative. China's strategic goals with the new Silk Road. The new Silk Road is more than just an infrastructure project. It is a central piece in a global chessboard where China is positioning its strategic ambition. With the launch of the Belt and Road Initiative, the country is not only seeking to foster trade, but also to solidify its role as an influential power on the international stage. The scale and impact of this strategy are extraordinary, making the BRI much more than just a network of trade routes. China's first goal with the BRI is to strengthen its economic relationship. By investing in partner countries, Beijing ensures access to new markets for its products, while diversifying its import and export routes. This is especially important in a world where trade disputes are a constant concern. Xi imagines strategic ports in regions like Southeast Asia or the Indian Ocean, connecting Chinese goods to distant places like Africa and Europe with remarkable efficiency. Another critical point is energy security. Many of the new Silk Road projects pass through regions rich in natural resources, like Kazakhstan and the Middle East. Building oil and gas pipelines is a smart way to ensure a steady energy supply for China's growing economy. Additionally, alternative routes reduce dependence on strategic choke points, such as the Strait of Malacca, where maritime security is always uncertain. Geopolitically, the BRI is a powerful tool for expanding China's influence. By financing projects in emerging countries, Beijing strengthens its presence in regions historically dominated by Western powers. For example, China's infrastructure financing in Pakistan not only bolsters the local economy, but also creates a dependency that solidifies bilateral relations. It's a strategic move that cleverly combines economics, politics, and diplomacy. Yet, the BRI also serves as a response to domestic challenges. China uses the project to integrate less developed regions of its own territory, like Xinjiang, into the global framework. Infrastructure projects such as railways and special trade zones help create jobs and stimulate the local economy, while also reinforcing stability in more sensitive areas. It's an innovative way to use global efforts to strengthen local foundations. The technological factor is also significant. The new Silk Road Digital, a branch of the BRI, seeks to establish Chinese leadership in areas like artificial intelligence, 5G, and e-commerce. By exporting its technologies to other countries, China not only increases its influence but also sets global standards that favor its companies. Think of Huawei implementing 5G networks in Africa or Asia, a clear example of how technology is at the heart of this strategy. Finally, the BRI is a way to reinforce the narrative of a multipolar world. By contrasting its approach with the often protectionist policies of the West, China promotes the idea that its leadership can be an inclusive and collaborative model. It's fascinating how an economic project can also serve as a powerful soft power tool, shaping global perception. With so many interconnected objectives, it's clear that the new Silk Road is more than just a development project. It's a historical movement that is redefining China's role in the world. But like any ambitious strategy, it also comes with profound impacts, which we'll analyze in the next section. After all, what does the world gain or lose by embracing this new commercial order? Global economic impacts of the New Silk Road. The New Silk Road is already reshaping the global economic map, generating effects that extend far beyond China's border. The impacts of this ambitious project are extraordinary, influencing both developed and emerging economies, while creating new power dynamics in international trade. Behind this strategy lies a complex web of benefits, challenges, and curiosities that are shaping the future of global commerce. One of the most noticeable impacts is the strengthening of emerging economies. Countries that were once isolated from major trade routes are now at the forefront of attention. For example, in Kenya, the construction of Chinese-funded railways has connected remote areas to major cities and ports, facilitating the flow of goods and promoting tourism. It's fascinating how a single railway can transform an entire region, creating jobs, boosting income, and driving local development. Furthermore, the BRI is helping to reduce the costs and time involved in international trade. With the development of logistics corridors like the one linking China to Europe via Kazakhstan, transporting goods has become more efficient and economical. Imagine a train loaded with Chinese electronics arriving in Germany in just 15 days, while a ship would take almost double the time. This kind of innovation clearly demonstrates how connectivity can reshape global supply chains. On the other hand, the countries involved in the New Silk Road also face considerable challenges. The dependence on Chinese financing, often in the form of loans, raises concerns about rising national debts. Countries like Sri Lanka have already felt the effects of this. Unable to repay a loan, the government was forced to hand over control of the strategic Hambantota port to China. This serves as an intriguing example of how the BRI can be a double-edged sword. Another significant impact is global competition. As China expands its influence through the BRI, other economic powers such as the United States and the European Union are responding by creating their own infrastructure projects and trade partnerships. This has led to a race for investments in strategic regions like Africa and Southeast Asia, intensifying geopolitical disputes. What's interesting is that, even in a competitive environment, this dynamic ultimately benefits local economies, which become the focus of global attention. The private sector is also being transformed. Companies operating along the BRI routes are adapting to meet new demands. The transportation industry, for example, is modernizing to handle the increased flow of goods. At the same time, tech startups are emerging to provide smarter and more sustainable logistics solutions. It's incredible how a global infrastructure project can inspire innovations that directly affect the end consumer. However, the impacts aren't just economic. The New Silk Road is also influencing cultural dynamics between countries. The exchange of ideas and business practices is fostering greater collaboration but also creating tension, particularly in regions where China's growing influence is viewed with suspicion. This balance between opportunities and challenges is one of the most intriguing aspects of the project. With so much at stake, the impact of the New Silk Road extends far beyond just infrastructure. It's reshaping alliances, reorganizing economic flows, and creating a new model for global cooperation. But like any project of this scale, its success depends on the quality of its works and the trust between the parties involved. In the next section, we'll dive into the behind-the-scenes infrastructure projects that support this initiative, exploring how engineering and connectivity are making this vision a reality. Infrastructure and connectivity. The engine of the project, the New Silk Road, is powered by something both tangible and visionary. Infrastructure, highways, railways, ports, airports, and even submarine data cables are the pillars that support this historic project. More than just physical investments, this network of connections is turning dreams of global trade into a reality. The scale and complexity of the works are extraordinary, but the behind-the-scenes story reveals a fascinating mix of innovation, challenges, and local impact. One of the most impressive examples of infrastructure in the BRI is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor (CPEC). This series of projects, which includes highways, railways, and pipelines, connects China's Xinjiang province to the port of Gwadar in Pakistan. Gwadar, once an underdeveloped port town, is being transformed into one of the most promising commercial hubs in the Indian Ocean. It's curious how infrastructure can change the fate of a region, attracting investments and redefining the global trade map. Beyond ports and roads, the new Silk Road is also investing in technological innovation to boost connectivity. A notable example is the Digital Silk Road, which integrates 5G network, data center, and e-commerce platforms across various countries. These technologies not only facilitate trade but also connect remote communities to the rest of the world. Imagine a small village in Africa using digital systems to access global markets, a scenario once unimaginable. However, building infrastructure on such a large scale is no easy task. Natural obstacles like mountains, deserts, and seas require ingenious solutions. One example is the Addis Ababa-Djibouti Railway in Africa, which cuts through challenging terrain to link Ethiopia's capital to the port of Djibouti. This project not only opened new possibilities for Ethiopian exports, but also exemplified the BRI's determination to overcome geographical barriers to create unprecedented connectivity. Another fascinating aspect is the local impact of these constructions for community. The arrival of infrastructure can be a game changer. Small towns that were once isolated are now part of trade corridors, creating jobs and stimulating economic growth. However, this transformation isn't always positive. In some cases, there have been reports of communities being displaced and environmental impacts, raising the question of how to balance progress with sustainability. The quality of the works is another area of concern. While many BRI projects are engineering marvels, others have faced criticism for issues with construction and maintenance. Some roads and bridges have required repairs just a few years after completion, highlighting the importance of strict standards to ensure the durability and effectiveness of these works. After all, connectivity depends not only on building but on maintaining these infrastructures over time. Ultimately, the BRI infrastructure is not only physical but also symbolic. Each bridge, port, and railway constructed represents a link between nations and culture. It's incredible how something so concrete can carry the weight of such an ambitious dream. But what makes this even more intriguing is the role of the regions involved in the project. In the next section, we'll explore how countries and communities along the route are shaping and being shaped by this new era of global connectivity. The role of the regions involved in the project. The New Silk Road is a phenomenon that depends as much on the participating countries as on China's vision. Each region involved plays a unique role, contributing to the success or challenges of the project. From the emerging economies of Africa to the industrial powers of Europe, the impact of the BRI is shaped by the characteristics and strategies of each locale. This interdependence is one of the most curious and fascinating aspects of the project. In Central Asia, for example, countries like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan are at the heart of the BRI due to their strategic location. These resource-rich nations serve as bridges between China and Europe. Kazakhstan in particular has seized the opportunity to modernize its infrastructure and diversify its economy, which was once heavily dependent on oil. It's extraordinary how a trade route can transform the economy of countries that were previously considered isolated on the global map. Africa is another region that has gained prominence with the New Silk Road. Countries like Kenya, Ethiopia, and Nigeria are receiving massive investments in ports, railways, and energy. The Mombasa-Nairobi Railway, funded by China, is a standout example of how the BRI is reshaping internal connections on the African continent. However, concerns over debt remain, as many of these projects are financed by loans that not all countries can repay. In Europe, the role of the BRI is more complex. While countries like Greece have embraced Chinese investments, allowing the port of Piraeus to become one of the busiest in the Mediterranean, others, like Germany and France, are more cautious. What's intriguing here are the negotiations, how to balance the economic benefits of partnering with China without compromising sovereignty or security. It's a true geopolitical chess game. In Latin America, while the BRI is not as dominant as in Asia and Africa, the region is gradually connecting to the project. Countries like Brazil and Argentina have become important suppliers of food and raw materials for China. while infrastructure projects, such as railways and ports, are being considered in countries like Chile. It's fascinating to see how the new Silk Road is finding ways to connect even regions that were initially off the radar. Southeast Asia, however, is perhaps the biggest beneficiary of the BRI in terms of infrastructure and economic development. Countries like Indonesia, Vietnam, and Thailand are not only receiving investment, but also becoming strategic hubs for regional trade. Projects like the high-speed train linking Jakarta to Bandung show the tangible impact of this initiative. At the same time, these countries must deal with China's growing influence in their internal policy, which creates controversy. Each region along the route contributes to the diverse mosaic of the new Silk Road. Whether through natural resources, strategic positioning, or infrastructure needs, these areas are shaping the future of global trade. However, this interconnectedness also generates tensions and challenges, especially when China's influence is seen as a risk rather than an opportunity. With so many regions working together or competing for benefit, the new Silk Road becomes a dynamic network of collaborations and conflict. In the next section, we'll dive into the controversies and criticisms surrounding this ambitious project, exploring the concerns of economists, environmentalists, and global leaders. After all, no historical transformation comes without resistance. Controversies and criticisms of the new Silk Road. While the new Silk Road is praised for its ambitious vision, the project also faces intense criticism and controversy, from the rising debt burden of partner countries to environmental impact, as well as sovereignty and geopolitical issues. The initiative is not without its shadow. Understanding these concerns is essential to unravel the mysteries surrounding the extraordinary undertaking and its global implication. One of the most frequent criticisms is the debt trap. Countries that accept China's generous funding for infrastructure projects often accumulate debt that they are unable to repay. The case of Sri Lanka is a notable example. When the country failed to repay its loan, the government was forced to hand over control of the strategic Hambantota port to China for 99 years. This raised suspicions that the BRI is less about cooperation and more about expanding China's influence in key regions. There are also environmental concerns. Many of the BRI projects, such as roads and dams, have a direct impact on sensitive ecosystems. For instance, projects in regions like Central Asia threaten local water resources and biodiversity. It's ironic to think that an initiative aimed at connecting the world could also disconnect it from nature. Environmentalists argue that without stringent controls, the new Silk Road could leave a legacy of destruction rather than progress. Another point of controversy is the lack of transparency in many of the agreements. Critics point out that contracts between China and partner countries are often negotiated behind closed doors, without sufficient public scrutiny. This raises suspicions of corruption and poor management, as well as fueling political tensions in the countries involved. In some African nations, for example, protests have already erupted over what is perceived as unfavorable contract terms. National sovereignty is also at stake, as China becomes the owner of ports, railways, and other strategic infrastructure in partner countries. Questions arise about how much control these countries retain over their own territory. The curious thing here is how the BRI balances immediate economic benefits with the long-term risks of dependency. For many, the new Silk Road is not just a commercial project, but also a tool for expanding power. Geopolitically, the BRI also generates distrust among other powers. The United States and its allies see the project as an attempt by China to rewrite the rules of global trade, pushing the West into a secondary role. This scenario intensifies economic and military rivalry, creating a historic phenomenon of multilateral disputes over infrastructure and influence. Another intriguing factor is the cultural impact of the BRI. In some regions, there are fears that China's influence will dilute local tradition. Chinese-funded cultural projects, such as language and cultural institutes, are viewed by some as a form of soft power to promote Beijing's worldview. This balance between cultural exchange and the preservation of local identity is another point of debate. Despite all these controversies, the new Silk Road continues to advance, showing that its benefits attract as much attention as its criticisms generate resistance. The vision of global connectivity is appealing, but the long-term implications are still unknown. In the next section, we will explore practical examples of Chinese-funded projects around the world, examining how they illustrate both the promises and dilemmas of this historic initiative. Practical examples of Chinese-funded projects around the world. The New Silk Road is not just a theoretical concept. It is already materializing in projects that are transforming landscape, economies, and lives worldwide. Each project funded by China reflects the scale, innovation, and challenges of this initiative. These practical examples reveal how the BRI works in practice and help us understand its extraordinary global impact. Case. One of the most emblematic cases is the port of Piraeus in Greece. Once underutilized, this Mediterranean port has transformed into one of Europe's busiest shipping hubs, thanks to investments from COSCO, a Chinese state-owned company. Piraeus now connects Asian maritime routes to European rail networks, reducing transportation time and cost. It's fascinating how a once-forgotten port has become a strategic link in the New Silk Road, helping to revive the Greek economy at a critical time. Another impressive example is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor (CPEC), a vast infrastructure network that includes roads, railway, and energy lines. This project connects China to the port of Gwadar in Pakistan, creating an alternative route for energy and goods transportation. Gwadar, once an isolated town, is now seen as the future Dubai of South Asia. However, the CPAC also illustrates the controversies surrounding the BRI, with concerns over debt and environmental impact in the region. In Africa, the Mombasa-Nairobi Railway is a classic example of the BRI's impact. Funded by China, this modern railway connects Kenya's largest port to its capital, facilitating the transportation of people and goods. For local traders, the reduction in transportation costs and time is a welcome relief. But there are questions about the project's high costs and the loans Kenya will have to repay. Still, the railway symbolizes the development promise that the New Silk Road brings. In Central Asia, Kazakhstan's role as a land hub is exemplified by projects like the Korgos Center, known as the Gateway to Europe. Korgos is a vast rail terminal and free trade zone that connects Chinese goods to European markets. It's fascinating how an area once dominated by desert has become a bustling trade hub, demonstrating the BRI's ability to transform seemingly inhospitable landscapes into vibrant commercial centers. Other less visible but equally significant projects include the installation of submarine cables to expand digital connectivity. The Digital Silk Road aims to create a communication infrastructure that facilitates commercial transactions and makes local economies more competitive. It's intriguing to see how this innovation is not only connecting countries physically, but also virtually, promoting technological advances in regions that were once on the margins of the digital revolution. The BRI is also present in Latin America, where projects like the Bioceanic Railway, which aims to connect the Atlantic to the Pacific, are under consideration. Although still in the planning stage, the idea is to reduce logistics costs and integrate the region's economies into the Asian market. This is an example of how the New Silk Road is strategically expanding its boundaries. These projects are just a glimpse into the scope and impact of the BRI. They reveal China's ambition not only to build infrastructure, but also to foster trade and cultural ties that will shape the future. However, the question remains, are the countries involved truly benefiting, or are they becoming dependent? In the next section, we will explore how nations can benefit from more face challenges by participating in this visionary initiative, how countries can benefit or not from the New Silk Road. The New Silk Road presents a rare opportunity for participating countries, but it also raises a crucial question. Are these countries really reaping long-term benefit, or are they stepping into a land of risks? The impacts vary depending on the strategies adopted by each nation, making it fascinating to analyze how some economies thrive while others face challenges. Benefits are undeniable for countries that strategically leverage Chinese investment. A clear example is Vietnam, which uses BRI funding to modernize ports and transportation infrastructure while carefully balancing its foreign policy. This approach allows the country to attract investment, increase its regional competitiveness, and diversify exports, promoting intelligent and sustainable economic growth. Another positive is access to global markets. Countries that were once isolated, such as those in Central Asia, can now export products more easily and import essential goods at lower cost. Kazakhstan, for instance, has become a strategic trade hub, using its advantageous location to connect China to Europe. It's incredible how geographic positioning can be transformed into a historical advantage with the support of the BRI. However, not all countries are able to maximize these benefits. Many low-income countries struggle with the debt. When they cannot repay the loans that financed their infrastructure projects, they end up losing control over strategic assets. The case of Sri Lanka, which handed over the Hambantota port to China, serves as a warning to other countries about the risks of relying solely on external financing without long-term planning. Beyond debt, there is the challenge of creating economic benefits that truly reach local communities. In many cases, BRI projects depend on Chinese companies and labor, limiting the positive impact on local economy. Projects that do not prioritize local involvement often fail to create jobs or stimulate sustainable growth, leading to resentment and questions about the real value of these initiatives. Sustainability is another critical factor. Countries that adopt strict environmental standards can turn BRI projects into opportunities for green development. However, when these considerations are neglected, projects can cause irreparable environmental damage, such as deforestation and pollution. Balancing progress with preservation is a challenge that many nations still struggle to address. There is also the political aspect. Dependence on Chinese financing can limit a country's sovereignty, making it difficult to make independent decisions. To avoid this situation, some nations are diversifying their partnership, seeking to balance China's support with investments from other powers. India, for example, chose not to participate in the BRI and instead is strengthening its own regional trade network. Countries that truly benefit from the new Silk Road are those that are able to negotiate favorable terms, diversify their partnership, and align BRI projects with their own national goals. The balance between risk and reward is delicate but possible. In the next section, we will explore how these dynamics could shape the future of global trade and the influence of the BRI on the global economic stage. After all, what will be the legacy of this historical phenomenon for international trade? The future of global trade under the influence of the New Silk Road. The New Silk Road is already shaping global trade, but its future implications promise to be even deeper. As the project evolves, it is redefining economic flows, establishing new alliances, and challenging old power structures. The future of global trade under the influence of the BRI is a fascinating enigma, full of opportunities, uncertainty, and extraordinary phenomena that could alter the world balance. One of the clearest trends is the shift of the global economic center to Asia, with China leading the movement. The BRI is consolidating Eurasia as an economic connectivity hub. Infrastructure such as land and sea, logistics corridors is making the region increasingly integrated. Europe, for example, could benefit from this connection, receiving goods more quickly while exporting products to expanding Asian market. However, this future won't be homogeneous. Countries that adopt smart strategies, diversifying their partnerships and strengthening their negotiating capacity, could position themselves as leading global players. On the other hand, nations that become overly dependent on external financing may struggle to maintain their economic and political autonomy. The curious thing is how the different choices made today will define tomorrow's economic landscape. The impact of technology is another crucial factor. The digital Silk Road is paving the way for more connected and efficient trade, utilizing 5G network, artificial intelligence, and blockchain. This technological transformation not only facilitates the transportation of goods, but also revolutionizes sectors like e-commerce and financial services. Imagine a future where global transactions are almost instantaneous and free from bureaucratic barriers. This innovation that the BRI promises to deliver. Geopolitically, the future of the BRI will depend on how other powers respond to its growing influence. Initiatives like the Build Back Better World (B3W), led by the United States, and the Global Gateway from the European Union are attempts to balance the playing field. This competition for influence could benefit emerging countries, which will have more options for financing their projects, but it will also intensify global rivalry. There's also the environmental role. As climate concerns gain traction, the future of the BRI will need to align with sustainable practices. Renewable energy projects and green infrastructure are essential to ensure that economic development does not come at the expense of the planet. Some countries are already demanding that BRI investments meet stricter environmental standards, which could become a global trend. The future of global trade will also be more decentralized. Alternative routes and new economic zones will emerge, reducing dependence on traditional paths like the Suez Canal. Geographical diversification will make trade more resilient to crises such as maritime blockages or political. In this context, the new Silk Road acts as a catalyst for innovation and adaptation. Ultimately, the future of global trade under the influence of the BRI will be defined by the ability of nations to collaborate in a balanced way. If successful, the new Silk Road could usher in a new era of prosperity and interconnectedness, but its full realization will require a balance between economic, environmental, and political interest. And as the world watches, the legacy of this project remains a mystery in constant construction, ready to be explored in the next chapters of global history. The new Silk Road represents a unique opportunity for global transformation. But what will you do with all this knowledge? Will you let history unfold without participating, or will you look for ways to apply these lessons to your own path? The world is changing before our eyes, and trade will never be the same. Are you ready to seize the opportunities and avoid the risks that this new era brings? Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and continue exploring with us these incredible phenomena shaping the future of our world. The legacy of the new Silk Road, shaping the future of global commerce as the new Silk Road continues to expand. It's clear that its impact will go far beyond infrastructure and trade. This ambitious initiative has the potential to redefine the very nature of global commerce, politics, and cultural exchange. While the projects and investments are still unfolding, the future of the world economy is increasingly intertwined with China's Belt and Road Initiative. How this massive undertaking will ultimately shape the global landscape remains to be seen, but its legacy is already beginning to take form. One of the lasting effects of the new Silk Road will likely be the way it shifts global trade patterns. With China at the center of this transformation, the balance of economic power is beginning to tip toward Asia as Eurasia becomes an economic hub. The flow of goods, ideas, and capital will increasingly move along new routes, bypassing traditional shipping lanes and creating new trade relationships. The impact of these shifts will be felt in every corner of the globe, from the bustling markets of Europe to the rapidly developing economies in Africa and Southeast Asia. For countries participating in the BRI, the long-term benefits will largely depend on how they manage their relationships with China and the broader international community. The key will be maintaining a balance, leveraging the financial and infrastructural benefits of the initiative, while also safeguarding national interest. The countries that succeed in navigating this balance will find themselves at the forefront of a new, more interconnected global economy. However, the new Silk Road's legacy won't just be economic, it will also be cultural. As nations engage more deeply with China and with each other through this vast network of trade routes, there will be an unprecedented exchange of ideas, tradition, and innovation. This cultural exchange can foster greater understanding and collaboration between nations, but it can also bring challenges. As cultural identities blend and influence one another, tensions could arise over issues of sovereignty, local customs, and the preservation of national heritage. The new Silk Road is, in many ways, not just about connecting economies, but about creating a new global identity that reflects the interconnectedness of the modern world. The environmental challenges posed by the new Silk Road cannot be ignored either. As infrastructure projects are built across diverse regions, from the deserts of Central Asia to the forests of Africa, the long-term environmental impact will need to be carefully managed. If the BRI is to leave a positive legacy, it must embrace sustainable development practices that prioritize environmental preservation alongside economic growth. The question remains whether the global community will hold China and partner nations accountable for minimizing the ecological footprint of this monumental initiative. Politically, the new Silk Road will likely influence global power structures for decades to come. As China strengthens its influence through strategic investments and infrastructure projects, traditional Western powers will need to reconsider their role in the world. The BRI's rise is a reminder of the shifting dynamics in global leadership as power is increasingly distributed across multiple regions, rather than being concentrated in a single bloc. Whether this multipolar world will lead to greater cooperation or increased geopolitical rivalries remains to be seen. Ultimately, the new Silk Road represents a bold vision of the future, a future where nations, businesses, and cultures are more connected than ever before. The legacy of this initiative will be shaped by the choices we make today and in the coming years. Will the world embrace the opportunities created by this new global framework, or will the risks overshadow the rewards? The road ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear. The new Silk Road will be a defining factor in shaping the future of global commerce, politics, and culture. As we continue to watch this historic project unfold, we must be ready to adapt and respond to the changing dynamics of the world around us. The story of the new Silk Road is just beginning, and it is one that will continue to captivate, challenge, and inspire us for generations to come. So, as we move forward into this new era of global connectivity, ask yourself, how will you navigate the future? Will you be part of the transformation, or will you watch from the sideline? The new Silk Road is reshaping the world, and now is the time to engage, learn, and be a part of the story. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on this extraordinary journey and many more fascinating topics that are reshaping our world. The future of global trade and the role of emerging economies as the new Silk Road continues to evolve. Its effects on global trade will ripple through economies of all sizes. One of the most significant impacts will be felt by emerging economies that stand to benefit from greater access to market, technology, and investment. These nations, many of which have long struggled to compete on the global stage, now have an unprecedented opportunity to integrate into the world economy in ways that were once unimaginable. For these emerging economies, the new Silk Road is a chance to leapfrog traditional development stages by connecting to a vast network of trade routes. Countries that once faced challenges in infrastructure, technology, and access to global supply chains can now tap into the potential of the global market. They can become key players in the global supply chain, contributing to and benefiting from the flow of goods, services, and technologies across borders. However, this new interconnected world also brings challenges. While the new Silk Road promises opportunities for growth, it also introduces the complexities of competition, geopolitical maneuvering, and the need for careful strategic planning. Emerging economies must be prepared to navigate these challenges to maximize the benefits of participation in the BRI. These countries will also need to balance their participation in the new Silk Road with the need to preserve their independence and sovereignty. As global trade routes become increasingly dominated by China, the ability to maintain economic autonomy and avoid over-reliance on a single superpower will be critical. Nations must ensure they don't fall into the trap of becoming overly dependent on Chinese investment or becoming enmeshed in China's broader geopolitical agenda. The changing landscape of global leadership, the rise of the new Silk Road is not just a story of economic transformation, it's also about the shifting balance of global power. As China's influence spreads through infrastructure projects, trade agreements, and investment deals, the global order is changing. No longer is the West the sole leader in shaping the future of global commerce. Instead, we are witnessing the emergence of a more multipolar world, where power is shared among multiple regions, each playing a unique role in shaping the direction of global trade. China, through the Belt and Road Initiative, is positioning itself as the central player in this new world order. But this shift in power dynamics is not just about economic influence. It's also about shaping the rules of international trade, governance, and cooperation. With its growing network of trade relationships, China is rewriting the playbook for global trade, creating new standards for investment, trade regulation, and even digital infrastructure. This growing Chinese influence is being met with both cooperation and resistance. While many nations are eager to partner with China and benefit from the infrastructure and trade opportunities provided by the new Silk Road, others, particularly the United States and European Union, view China's expanding role with concern. They worry that China's dominance could alter the rules of global governance and trade in ways that challenge existing power structure. This geopolitical rivalry will be a defining feature of the future as countries and regions grapple with how to coexist in an increasingly interconnected and competitive world. Environmental and social sustainability. The challenges ahead. One of the most significant concerns surrounding the new Silk Road is its potential environmental and social impact. As massive infrastructure projects take shape across diverse landscapes, the long-term sustainability of these developments becomes a critical issue. The BRI covers vast regions, including remote and ecologically sensitive areas, such as the deserts of Central Asia and the rainforests of Africa. With such a large-scale undertaking, ensuring that these projects are environmentally sustainable will be a monumental challenge. Silk K. The global community. Environmentalists and local populations are calling for stricter environmental safeguards. Projects that disrupt ecosystems, deplete water resources, or contribute to deforestation need to be carefully monitored and managed. It's crucial that the countries involved, along with China, take a proactive approach to mitigating the environmental impact of the BRI. Sustainable development practices must be at the core of every project if the new Silk Road is to leave a positive legacy for future generations. Socially, there are concerns about the effects of these infrastructure projects on local communities. While the promise of job creation, increased trade, and improved living standards is enticing, there are real risks of social displacement and cultural disruption. Local communities might be uprooted to make way for large-scale infrastructure projects, and traditional ways of life could be overshadowed by the rapid influx of foreign investment and construction. Moreover, the long-term social benefits of these projects remain uncertain. Will the local populations see tangible improvements in their quality of life, or will they remain on the periphery of the economic boom, unable to fully participate in the new global economy? This is a critical question that needs to be addressed to ensure that the new Silk Road doesn't exacerbate inequalities or create new challenges for vulnerable populations. The new Silk Road, a platform for innovation beyond the tangible infrastructure projects and trade routes. The new Silk Road is also becoming a platform for innovation, as countries and companies along the route collaborate on digital technology, renewable energy solutions, and sustainable urban development. We are witnessing a wave of new ideas and technological advancement that could shape the future. China's focus on technology and innovation is one of the driving forces behind the BRI's success. The digital Silk Road, for example, aims to connect nations through high-speed internet, 5G networks, and smart cities, all of which could foster new levels of efficiency and connectivity. As technology becomes more integrated into these trade routes, it will play a central role in facilitating smoother cross-border transactions, increasing transparency, and lowering the costs of doing business. Furthermore, technological advancements in areas like renewable energy, blockchain, and artificial intelligence will be key components of the new Silk Road. These technologies can help address some of the challenges faced by countries along the route, from climate change to economic inequality. By embracing innovation and collaboration, the new Silk Road has the potential to not only transform trade, but also create new opportunities for sustainable development and global progress. The path forward. A global opportunity, the new Silk Road is a transformative initiative with the potential to reshape the global economy in profound ways. While its full impact is yet to be realized, the early signs point to a future where global trade is more interconnected, efficient, and inclusive. The opportunities for emerging economies, technological innovation, and cultural exchange are vast, but so too are the challenges. The road ahead will require careful navigation and strategic decision-making, both from China and the countries involved. As we look to the future, it's clear that the new Silk Road represents a major shift in the global order. It offers a platform for cooperation, growth, and development, but it also comes with risks and complexities that must be managed. The way nations choose to engage with this new global framework will determine whether they thrive or struggle in the evolving economic landscape. The legacy of the new Silk Road will ultimately be shaped by the choices we make today. Will it be a force for positive change, fostering greater global connectivity and prosperity, or will its challenges outweigh its potential? The answers to these questions will unfold over the coming decade as the new Silk Road continues to pave the way for a more interconnected, innovative, and dynamic world. Excel. How will you engage with this new era? Will you embrace the opportunities it brings, or sit back and watch as history unfolds? The new Silk Road is changing the world, and now is the time to be part of the transformation. Subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, and continue exploring the forces that will shape the future of our global economy. The journey is just beginning, and the possibilities are limitless.